Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and today I'm going to be reviewing Witches Steeped in Gold. So yeah, if you don't know, I do monthly reviews of new releases and you can actually vote on what I'm gonna review. I'm gonna link videos for that up above, but you probably know what's up. You voted for Witches Steeped in Gold by Ciannon Smart this month and I'm so excited because I've had this book pre-ordered for forever. I was so hyped for it and I was so happy to review it and read it because of this with like, you know, a critical eye, whatever. But firstly, let me tell you a little bit about it. So Witches Steeped in Gold is a debut YA fantasy novel and it's actually set in like a Jamaican inspired fantasy world because the author herself has Jamaican roots. She was born in England, I believe. So the Jamaican culture has big impact on this story and we follow these two women, Ira and Yasmin, as one of them is the daughter of the current queen, let's call her. The name of the station is Doyen. It's basically the ruler of this country. Yasmin is the daughter of the Doyen and she's actually plotting her mother's murder in order to take power away from her because she believes her mother is a bad ruler. One of the reasons is she keeps upholding this tradition called the Yielding, and the Yielding is basically like mini Hunger Games where you have, I think, 5 tributes and they have to fight to death basically, and then the final one sacrifice. And the other character is Ira, and Ira is actually also a daughter of a queen or a doyen, but the previous one, the one that was overthrown by the current ruler. Ira's people were actually in charge of the land and then there was an usurpation and the overtaking of the throne by Yasmin's mother. So understandably, Ira's biggest concern is getting her magic because she, in this world, you have to kind of unlock your magic by touching the ancestors tree, and her biggest goal is unlock her magic and kill the current doyen. So these two women have something in common and maybe they have to work together to get to where they want to be. Okay, I was really worried about synopsis for this, but actually I think I kind of nailed it. Something that really attracted me to this book was the cover. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the colors of it. I don't know if you noticed, but I matched my nails to the cover. So firstly, we're gonna talk about plot. So like I said, the whole story is based on Jamaican myths and legends and it's quite an interesting plot, I would say. It was quite nicely and tightly done. I gotta say, I did find it a little bit hard to follow because this world is incredibly complex. It's just a little bit under-explained, I would say. It's not underdeveloped because the development is there. Clearly the author knows what's happening, the author knows what's up. But me as a reader, I felt really lost at several points. I actually ended up reading Goodreads article which was an interview with the author, and she explained a lot in there in terms of like her inspirations and what she was going for, and it kind of made me understand why I was struggling so hard to understand what was happening. And I think this was in part because the world was based on real Jamaican like legends and folklore and traditions and culture, but none of it was really explained to the fullest. This book heavily relies on the political scheming. It's not really just fighting, but it's like all these alliances, these different groups with different motivations, with different plans, and it's all very intricate. There are several like moving cogs in this really big machine that this book is, which is awesome, admittedly, but because I had no understanding of the world itself, like how the countries interacted with each other, why they were like that with each other, what was different about their magic. At first I thought I understood, but they kind of completely just scrapped that. Maybe I just misunderstood in the beginning, but then they just seemed like the same magic to me. All the different groups with different intentions, it just didn't work for me because I had no clue who was who. I just kept being like, what? What? I thought you were on the same side, but apparently you're not. And all these countries were introduced. For the same group of people, there'd be like 3 names, which just happen to be really confusing when you're trying to figure out what's happening. I'm not that bothered about maps. I mean, I still love them and I always look at them and I usually use them for reference to understand like the geographies of the countries and like the relationships between them. And I definitely think this book could have really use the map. Just like put a map in there so I can like trace who's from what, why, what was happening. I actually thought there was a bit of an explanation because there were some dark pages with like the different types of powers listed out, but then they didn't even list the powers, they just listed scarification, because one of the tribes, when they, for their magic, they like scar their faces in certain, or faces and bodies I think, in certain ways, and depending on what they scar it, that's their power, which like cool I guess, but there are so many more important things that I didn't understand that were not even attempted at fleshing out so I could understand. On one hand, I understand that this was based on Jamaican real culture, real myths, real legends, which is completely fine. That I have no problem with how the world was built. It's just I have the problem with under explanation of it, because I still really couldn't tell you everyone, and like I got to the end and it was just so hard to follow along. You can't do that if your whole book is based on politics, if the whole idea of it is the political gains and the machinations and trying to get back power. You need to explain your world a little bit. So that'd be my only complaint, I guess, with the plot. I just really wish the author made it a little bit easier to understand. I understand wanting to thrust the reader, but I felt like I was thrust into deep water and just left there, like there was no life raft. Next, let's talk about writing. So this is a really interesting one. So this connects a little bit to the plot and the complaints I had before. So actually reading that Goodreads article, the author said that the words used by the characters in the book is actually Jamaican patois, which is, I had to Google this, but this is an English-based Creole language with West African influence, spoken primarily in Jamaica and Jamaican diasporas. She said this was something that this was a language that her mom would use if she was like angry at home or whatever, or just like going through rants. So this is a language close to the author's heart, which is great, and that was awesome to see that being incorporated into this world so simultaneously and so smoothly. But there was no glossary, and they would use words not just for magical things but just for regular things. For example, pickney, I'm pretty sure means a child or like a descendant or like more like offspring. I'm pretty sure that's what it means, but it also means a child in the sense of being young. So they used that a lot. They used different words that I just had no way of knowing what they meant, and I looked for a glossary. Like I know I complained sometimes in the past about glossaries being too long, but if you're not gonna explain these words in your book but you're gonna use them regularly, okay, the regular ones at least I could get from the context after like 10 times of hearing the word. I kind of understood, but there were some that were just thrown once or twice. How am I supposed to know what that means unless I'm there with a dictionary in my hand? And I don't really want to go to a dictionary when I'm reading a book when it's like 5 words on a page, because I'll get taken out of the story. So although I understand that this complaint could be made about glossary as well, I still feel like glossary is like an accepted norm in books, so why not include it? I really don't understand. I feel like it would have made my experience so much more pleasurable and just so much easier to understand, because I was really struggling. I don't understand why there was no glossary. Like, what's up with that? And when I started reading the book, I thought to myself, this style of writing is really bizarre. Now, I feel like the sentence structures are a little bit strange and it reads a little bit unnaturally. And it wasn't just me feeling that way, it was kind of on purpose. So reading the Goodreads article again, the author talked about how she wanted to use cadence of spoken word to portray the fact that in Jamaica a lot of their history was orally transmitted, not so much written. So she wanted to portray that, and this is actually a quote from her. I really wanted it to have a lot of rhythm and flow because a lot of the history of the Caribbean is oral, and I really wanted to reflect that in a subtle way throughout the prose in the book. So I actually think she did quite a good job, considering that something I noticed, and to me more felt weird because it wasn't read aloud to me, so probably like in audiobook you could really hear it. For me, you know, in your head just reading it just feels weirder because it's not what you're used to, but I totally appreciate what she wanted to do and I think it's pretty cool actually, so kudos. Alright, let's talk about characters. So like I said, we have 2 leads and they're very distinct. I was really impressed by how the author made the two leads almost opposites of each other and very, very different. And that was definitely on purpose because, again, that's something that she mentioned in her article. But Ira and Yasmin, completely different from each other. And I think that was executed very well. And she said that she wanted to show that they're antitheses of each other almost, and that they're two very, very different people with different personalities. And she said that something that she wanted to do was like constantly play them off each other, so you never really know which one's gonna come out on top, because you never really know who's like the main character that we're supposed to root for. There's not really good and evil. There's very morally grey characters, not just the two main characters, but I think everyone, just because the world's so complicated and you never really hear just from one perspective, you hear from everyone. So I think that was done very well. It was really cool to see that that was author's intention. I mean, I don't know why. Sometimes I'm like surprised that the author thought all of this through, all these things they noticed. I mean, of course they built the story and they built the writing and the world around it, so it makes complete sense. But I just thought it was amazing to hear her say something that I've really felt, which is that these two characters, I don't know who's the protagonist, I don't know who's gonna win, I don't know who I'm supposed to root for. Having finished the book, I definitely have more of an idea, but she said that's something she wants to do even in the further book, because this is gonna be in trilogy. She wants to kind of keep that feeling of uncertainty as to who's going to come out on top, who you're supposed to root for. I'm the kind of person that the first POV, I'm usually going to be like, yep, that's the lead. Even if it's like multiple characters, I really think of the first POV as the lead character. And in this book, I'm pretty sure it was Yasmin. Yeah, it was Yasmin. Yasmin was the like main character in my head, just because her POV came first. And I actually prefer Yasmin. I like her more than I like Ira. I found Yasmin really, really compelling, really interesting. And I think where she's going to go from now is going to determine a lot, but it's going to be super interesting to see that journey happen. At the end, I usually talk about themes, and there was a lot of themes for sure. I mean, betrayal, belonging, power being corrupting, all of that was there for sure. There was a little bit of that conversation about all those things and more. But again, because I was so confused by the world and the motivations of everyone, I found myself a little bit confused on what I'm supposed to be getting out of it in terms of themes. I saw all of the things I mentioned, but I just didn't maybe see them as fleshed out as I want them to be, or as I think the author intended. Maybe we weren't supposed to get like proper discussion and answers. Maybe it's just like dipping your toe and then we go into it later. But like I said, because just a little bit confused on the characters, really confused on the world, really confused and unsure about everyone's motivation 100%. I can understand maybe the two main characters, but then there's so many other groups of people with motivations and their own agendas that I was just like, don't know. Okay, well, that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch upon. I did really enjoy it. I was really, really confused when I finished because there were so many things I enjoyed about it, but there was nothing that I loved so much. You know, when you have that feeling you love a book to the death, you would like fight for it in the ring. I didn't quite have that feeling, but I did enjoy it. I think it was really well written in terms of the storytelling and the interestingness of the character, and especially I like those two characters playing off each other and how that was really deliberate. I enjoyed all of that, and I think in the end I want to give it 4 stars. I was debating 3.5, but I'm just going to give it 4 stars, and I'm really curious where it's going to go with the next steps in the trilogy. The author said that in the next book the world's going to expand quite a lot, and I think that's going to be a good thing, because it's going to be, I hope it's going to be way clearer as to what the hell's even happening. Everyone, like, the world's going to become much clearer, hopefully, once we visit those other places to see those other parts of the world or those other cultures. So hopefully that will help me understand what's happening. It's just now it was a little bit too vague and just touched upon for me to really latch onto. Alright, I didn't want to wait a month, so that's why I'm opening it in a separate clip. But this is the pre-order I got from Ciannon Smart for The Witch is Steeped in Gold, which you know because you just watched a review of it. But I was so excited. Oh my goodness, I am so excited for this. I was like really hoping I get like to be a part of this. I'm really super hyped. So let's grab the first thing. Let's get the smallest thing. It's the bookmark. Oh my god, it's so pretty. So this is the bookmark. I really wanted one. I think there's like different types. I think they're tarot card inspired, but I'm not sure. Mine's the Rivals, and it's gorgeous. And even the back is absolutely gorgeous. It says 2 witches, 1 motive, and very untrustworthy alliance. I just hope I love this book so much, because if I don't, I still have a pretty bookmark, but like if I do. Okay, next thing. So many little things. It's a sticker. Trust no witch. Something solid. Ooh, it's a chocolate. I love that. Oh my god, so nice. Yes, I always wanted one of, well, I like signed books. I'm gonna put this in my book as soon as my pre-order comes. There's like multiple chocolates. How generous. Ooh. Gabriella, thank you for your order. You're welcome. I think I'm gonna love your book so much, so you know. Pleasure is all mine. There's a last item, which is this. Okay, trouble doesn't give signs like rain, so we always gotta be ready for it. I really like that. Really hope it was awesome. We'll find out if it was awesome. So I think you should read Wishes Steeped in Gold. I would quite recommend it. I think you will enjoy it. Just prepare to maybe do a little bit more research outside of reading and just maybe being a bit confused. And it also has pirates. I forgot to mention that, but it has pirates. So if you're into pirates as much as I am, there you go. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Let me know if you read this book. Are you planning to read this book? Have I convinced you? Has what I told you maybe made you go like, I probably don't need that. Also, how much do you love my nails that match the book? Because I love my nails that match the book. But that's it from me. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really, really appreciate it. But otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!